Hey everybody, Alex Miller at Campion here. What is about to come your way is a polemic in praise of middle management. I regard this as a bit of a heterodox view, which is part of why I'm saying it. When I see big organizations in the news talking about how they want to be flat, that makes me, you know, real nervous. And I always think I sure fucking hope you're talking about what you really want is a lighter, cheaper pyramid, which is understandable and sometimes it has to happen. But I'm going to give some examples that I hope underscore, convince you. I really think the lesson of history, the lesson of my own experience is overwhelming that middle management is really, really important to getting a good outcome. I might even throw it out there. Let's say you got a real nice pyramid. It's too expensive. You got a real nice pyramid of employees, but it's too expensive. Who are the people you really want to keep? Middle management. I what I've seen out there, a lot of times you could bring in new executives and middle management could make them make sense. You could bring in new employees and middle management could coach them up. If you screw up that middle management layer, that's really who knows where the bodies are buried, and people just don't always recover. So I want to be tangible here. I don't want to tell stories from my real career because I think that's a little tasteless. I don't want to embarrass anybody. I'm going to give some examples, good and bad, from military history. I'm going to start recent. I'm going to go back in time. And of course, the analog of middle management in a military setting is your officer corps. People who command the troops pretty close to on the ground as opposed to a general who's in a room somewhere looking at a map. Much like a big corporation, that general has some kind of plan, but then there's a lot of action gets delegated to a lot of people about implementing that plan. Okay, bad example. Stalin and the USSR prior to World War II tried to invade Finland, a much, much smaller country and sparsely populated. And it's easy to forget, I guess in the United States, maybe elsewhere in the world, we're kind of used to Europe being this eternally rich, well developed continent. That was not true of Finland prior to World War II. Nobody was real worried that Finland would stand up to Stalin for long. But what had happened was, a couple years prior to that, Stalin, for political reasons, had purged the army. He had gotten rid of all the people that he was worried didn't like Stalin, and he had replaced them with people that did like Stalin. I think if you've been around too much politics at a large organization, this sounds really familiar. It turned out vaguely that the people that didn't like Stalin were the people that actually knew what they were doing. And this war went really badly for the USSR despite overwhelming advantages, diplomatic, manpower, materiel. The most decorated sniper in history was on the Finnish side. I won't go into the macabre details of the kind of numbers he was putting up, but he's maybe good at what he was doing, but he almost certainly got some help from incompetence on the other side. And you can see here a sniper showing up is one of these situations. A lot of the people at ground level might not be very experienced. They're scared. They might not know how to react. Middle management is exactly the reservoir of knowledge that is realistically going to respond to something like that quickly enough to make a difference. And if your middle management is also noobs that don't know what to do, everybody gets buried in the ground. Let's go further back in time to the Roman Republic. I think if you read in detail about their very successful military adventures, that they were very good at harnessing middle management, and initiative in middle management in particular was one of the really key ingredients in their sauce. So I'm going to give a few examples. So there's a YouTube channel I like, Kings and Generals. You could read about Caesar's conquest of Gaul. And I'm going to say here, maybe he was an evil man doing genocide for selfish political reasons, but he was very good at it. And one thing that comes over and over if you read about these campaigns is little vignettes. Oh, well, Caesar has a problem. What will he do? Suggestion from some low level centurion turns out to be really good, saves the day. And this is not something that every organization functions in a way to permit, and that is there really a channel where a good idea can bubble up from Centurion's like a like a senior manager, like or just a ground level manager, pretty close to just directly being with troops. How quickly can ideas bubble up from someone like that to Caesar? And you can see in Caesar's case pretty fast, and was very positively impactful for the success of that campaign. Going further back, early in the history of the Roman Republic, they often fought Greeks. Southern Italy used to be a very Greek area way back in the day. And Greeks, if you're a history buff, they like to use these long spear pike tactics. You get real close to your buddy, make your buddy smile. You've all got spears. You turn into a big, scary hedgehog. And this is a very, very effective set of tactics if you can maintain that formation. And so that's what the Romans are facing off against in southern Italy. Where does middle management come in? So how do you beat these phalanx tactics? You need to disrupt that formation. You need to get everybody dislocated and make a hole where you can get close to people and not get stabbed by spears. What often happens is there's a moment where you create that disruption, and they're trying not to be disrupted, so they're trying to fix it. Some officer on the ground has to make an executive decision. Now is the time I go. This is the opportunity. If that officer feels like they need to check in with their boss, that opportunity is lost. If that officer doesn't understand how the different tactics of the two sides fit together, they don't understand that that's the opportunity they need to exploit, that opportunity is lost. And one thing the Romans were very, very good at is that middle level officers would take appropriate initiative at appropriate time to get things done. And this was one of the major factors in their success against the Greeks. There's nothing special about these three examples I've given. I would just like to convince you that I feel very strongly about this because I feel like in experiences I've had myself and in anything I've ever read about that I could analogically compare to the reporting hierarchy at a big corporation, you can't fuck up that middle management layer. It's everything. It's great to have great executive. It's great to have great individual contributors, but you gotta have that middle management layer or you're putting a really nasty low ceiling on what you can achieve. I guess I'll add here, there's a lot of these words and institutions, politics, bureaucracy. Okay, you don't have to like them. But I think we get in the habit of, we look at an institution and we evaluate it by, well, how does the presence of this institution differ from my nice fantasy world I want to live in? And really, it's more like, well, what will the world realistically look like when that institution is gone? Bureaucracy is a great one because, you get rid of all the bureaucracy. Really, that creates a world where you have to hunt down the mayor and make friends with him and take him out for a drink to get a building permit and that kind of thing, versus you could just put in an application. There's a bureaucratic procedure for that to happen. So I would say I hate bureaucracy more than you, but it's necessary. And middle management, I think, gets pummeled unfairly quite a bit. It's really important, and I would say that is really the layer where the magic happens. Not that no organization has ever been overlayered or bloated or anything like that, but I think those people are the people that you really want to keep if you're making a tough decision on the margin and you don't really have a hard conviction that you're overlayered in a specific way. That's just me. I'd be happy to give you more specific examples in private, but look out there.